Rich, decadent, but super easy chocolate zucchini bread. It's what we're gonna do with all that extra zucchini this year, and I think you're gonna see why. Let's make it. Usually when we make zucchini bread, it ends up making 2 loaves, and you always have to either freeze one, eat them quickly. This is just 1 loaf, which to me is the way it should be. It's a nice, hefty loaf, and it's chocolate. So obviously it's gonna have cocoa powder, it's gonna have chocolate chips. It's the best. That's what it is. And you know, we use zucchini in it mostly because it adds so much moisture, and it's a good way to use garden zucchini. Let's be honest. It's not making it healthy, it's just making it extra moist. So to start, I'm gonna mix together my dry ingredients, and I'm just doing this in a bowl, no mixture needed. That's what I love. So we're gonna start with all-purpose flour. We're gonna put it right in there with some sugar. Now, this is pretty much, think of this as a cake. We call them loaves, but they're a cake. That's what they are. So then on top of that, we're gonna put the cocoa. So the best thing with the cocoa is it's gonna add that richness. I'm using Dutch processed cocoa. That makes it a really rich, beautiful chocolate flavor and color. So we're gonna add that right in there. We're gonna add some baking powder. We're gonna do both baking powder and baking soda because we are using some sour cream in here. So we're gonna do a little bit of baking soda too. Those two will give it just that beautiful lift and a great texture, and that's what really I'm wanting here. And then we're gonna end this with a little bit of salt. You know it's baking, but you know we need a little bit of salt here. So once we have all the dry ingredients in there, just whisk it. And this is, instead of using a mixer or something, this is just a great way to make sure everything's gonna incorporate evenly. So when we whisk it, we make sure, you know, none of the lumps of chocolate are there. All those things just get mixed together before we actually put in our wet ingredients. That's all mixed together, pretty simple as you can see. And now what we're gonna do is just put in the wet ingredients. So this is really a dump and stir cake, and that's what's great. We're gonna do some oil. So anytime we do something like oil, we know that it's gonna have a really good level of moisture to it. And that's what I'm really going for here. This is really just a traditional recipe for this. And now we're gonna put in some eggs. Again, 2 eggs, because that's gonna give it the richness, but also the lift we want. So we're gonna put both those right in there, and we're just gonna stir it all together when it's in here, which is what I really like. And now a little bit of sour cream. You can use Greek yogurt if that's what you have on hand. This is of course gonna add, to me, sour cream, Greek yogurt, they offset that little bit of tanginess, offsets the chocolate, gives it a little bit more depth, but also gives it more moisture, and that's what we love here. So along with this, we of course need a little bit of vanilla. Vanilla and chocolate, they just go together so well. So we're gonna add in a good dose of that. I make all my vanilla at home, and I just refill my bottle, and I then don't feel bad putting extra vanilla in. So now we're gonna whisk this up, break those yolks, slowly whisk until it's smooth. So you can see at this point, it doesn't look like a normal batter. It's kind of thick, kind of just like an odd one, and that's because a lot of our moisture is gonna come here from the zucchini that I'm grating. Now, I always go for a smaller zucchini. If you get one that's larger than this, you're gonna wanna cut it in half and take the seeds out of the middle, because it will have a lot more seeds in it than the ratio of the flesh around them. When they're small, they don't have as many seeds, and so when I grow it at home here, I just make sure to pick them young, and then I take it on a grater here, and I just grate it. Now, you wanna be careful when you're grating, but also what you wanna make sure is that you don't have any bad spots on it before you grate it or anything, so look it over. But then once you have it grated, you have all this beautiful zucchini, and it has a lot of moisture content in it. Now, some recipes will say, salt it, get that moisture out, squeeze it out. This one doesn't do that, and I don't want it to do that. For one, that's a step to me. It's like, you know what? We're not trying to be a fancy place here. We're just doing what we do at home, and that's what this is. So we're gonna put in all that zucchini. So think of all the water that's actually going into here. That's what's gonna balance that out. And then, super important here, chocolate chips. This is a chocolate zucchini bread. So now we just wanna mix this all together. I'm using a spatula because at first, it's a little bit too stiff until we get the zucchini worked into it, but this is the best part. So this is when it becomes the batter that we're gonna use. So we wanna make sure this is well incorporated, and then we're gonna pour it right into our loaf pan. So you can see this completely changes more into a batter at this point, which is what you want. That's what all that zucchini does. And so, but it's still a thick one. That's what I love. You know it's gonna be a rich bread. I love that we call it bread because it's not bread. It's masquerading. It's a cake masquerading as bread. So we're gonna pour this all right into here and make sure to get all this out. Now, guys, I'm gonna tell you something. I've been trying to hone this skill. This is not my dominant hand. I'm going on my left hand, which I don't usually do, to push batter out. So if it looks weird, it's just better for the camera so you can see what I'm doing. But you see what I'm doing. I'm getting it all out. And then I always make sure, I want all these pieces, so I have to do this with my other hand, but I wanna get it all out of here. Spread it out slightly. just somewhat into an even layer. It should somewhat self-do that, but it's always easier if you can a little bit. Now, I will sometimes, if I can, make a sharp indentation in the middle. That can help it so it kind of crests in the middle and creates a little, just like a little nice cut mark. It doesn't always work, but it's just a little trick that you can sometimes. And then on top, optional, but with a lot of my baked goods, like breads, certain cookies, I'll put a little bit of raw sugar, turbinado sugar over the top. It just gives it a crust. I do this with a lot of things. You've seen me use it. It's one of my favorite things just to keep on hand because you get that crystally, crackly, sugary top, which is what you want. So after the sugar's on top, we're just gonna pop it in the oven. It takes a while to bake because it's a beautiful, rich, big loaf, but then we'll have some zucchini bread. So this has been cooling a while. I couldn't just eat it right when it came out of the oven. I had to let it cool. It's a big, thick bread, so it obviously needs a while to cool, but now I can pick it up. It's warm just to the touch, but what I love about it is one, look at that beautifully crackly, do you hear that? You get that beautiful, crackly, sugary top. That to me is just like perfect. So now I'm just gonna slice it. I'm gonna use a serrated knife just to make sure I can get through that beautiful top. Oh, that just is, that's slicing beautifully. Look at that, still some steam coming out. Nice and tall, beautiful. Ugh. We're gonna just make sure to get off. So this is what's great. You can eat it as a dessert. You could just try to say, this is bread, I'm gonna eat it for breakfast. I won't tell anyone. But look at the inside of this. Isn't that not beautiful? Zucchini bread is always moist. That's what I feel like it's prized for. That's what people love it for. It has a cake quality to it. We have I mean, look at the rich color of it. Plus, I want some of the top actually, because I want that crackly part. It's good. There's like nothing wrong with that at all. It's chocolatey. You get little chocolate chips in it. Super, super moist, but not heavy. Not like a dense heavy. It's fully baked. A nice crumb to it. Obviously it's still kind of warm. I love that. I love that crackly top. I could just eat that whole thing. I love it. I think it's delicious. Think of this, maybe just for tea time or with coffee, or with a big scoop of ice cream on it. That's how I think. It's delicious. It's one of my favorites, and I think it will be yours too. I hope you can see how easy this is. That's the point of all these. So share this video around so everyone else sees this is easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And why not turn zucchini into a confection? I think that makes complete sense. So make some, enjoy it, share it around. That's the point. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my other recipes. They're all on there. Until next time, enjoy something of the season. In this case, it's bread.